Welcome again. At least I hope you're coming back. And if you haven't done this before, I sincerely appreciate you being part of this process. For me, this is an opportunity to give back what I think I owe people who've helped me along the way and guided me and stimulated my thinking and applying some of my thinking and experience to the book that I entitled Leading for Value, those 4 models that I literally created over, well, quite a few years. And they work, and the tools work. So these podcasts are designed to be video based, but I do provide handouts of the PowerPoint that I'll be sharing shortly. So if you have a need or would like to look at the details, you'll have an opportunity to drop that down and put it in your own system. And I'm going to go back to that quote. The genius of leadership function is articulating a vision of the future that is at once simple, easily understood, clearly desirable, and energizing. Think about it. Think about some of the leaders that you know or you've observed. And how did they articulate visions? And how did they apply those visions into reality in the organizations they're working with the stakeholders that might be involved in implementing that vision, and equally important, especially the communities that you serve. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're a law firm, a financial services organization, a not-for-profit, things like Freddie Mac up in Washington, D.C., when I consulted with them for about 4 months, or a healthcare organization that's trying to do something different post-pandemic. These are all opportunities for leaders to show their organization and the people they work with how we're going to make a difference in the world. And that's what it's all about. It really is. So I hope you take that into consideration, and we'll get started. I'm going to share the screen, and we'll go forward. And today's session, this episode comes from Chapter 2, the Leading for Value chapter that I refer to as E3, Explore, Expand, Excel. And some of the drivers that I want you to think about in your own organization, what are they that's changing your industry, changing your environment, and really challenging you as a leader to step up and say, hey, we've got to make a difference. We got to do things differently. We got to see things differently. And we are depending on you, believe it or not, to take control and set the stage and the direction and the alignment of your management team and the whole organization. Quick story, C-story. I had been called down to the Methodist Hospital of Houston quite a few years ago to do some work with their leadership team, their medical staff, their quality improvement people over preparations for a review by the Joint Commission on Healthcare Organizations. And when we did the introductory in-step interviews and meetings with the management team, the CEO was very proud to announce the vision and how the vision worked, so forth and so on. So I sort of pulled the Clint Eastwood on him and said, okay, make my day. At lunch, I went down to the exit of the cafeteria in the hospital and then just randomly stopped people along the way, depending upon what I thought their roles might have been, from the top of the organization through the rest of that medical center. I said, tell me, what is the vision here at Methodist Hospital of Houston? And how do you apply that to your own job? Why is it important? What's the difference? At the end of the day, I was shocked. Over 95% of the people that I asked knew the vision in their own words. In many respects, that's great. But more importantly, they knew how that vision fit within their job and their responsibilities and their opportunities to translate into a reality for their specific contribution. And that was the key. So at the next meeting we had with the CEO and his team, I said, I apologize. I had some doubts. But your people, to your credit, transformed my thinking And that's what this episode is going to be about, transforming ideas. The vision in one case is healthcare reform of the future. It might be something in your own organization, whether it's financial services, the oil industry, it doesn't matter. But if you think about what's happening in the world today and how the environment is becoming more turbulent in all different sectors of our economy, it's really a great opportunity for the leaders to step up and say, you know, we've got a vision. We need to make some translational changes. We need to make some directional changes, and I need your help to make a difference. So in today's session, for example, we're going to talk about vision and eventually introduce values for the next session and what those leader opportunities are. So as you see at the bottom of the slide, I'm going to challenge you to make 2 lists of drivers for significant change. One specific to your industry, and then separately for the industry. And why is that important? Because you need to be able to juxtapose those and say, this is what we're seeing in our company. This is what we're seeing in the industry. And how do we align those in such a way that we can really produce and make a difference in our communities, the people we serve, the industry, the board members who oversee our operation? That's very important. And then how do you see it? I use the word healthcare, but that doesn't matter. How do you see it in your perspective? That's the key. And I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the model again and say, okay, in this particular session, far left-hand side, direction and purpose in terms of vision, values, your competitive position, and the product or service development, and how it applies in your particular reality that you're trying to create with the vision you've created. So this series of podcasts, if you will further explain and offer suggestions of what could be possible. And I'm using the context of my book and my own teaching experience, faculty role, as well as a consultant to try to blend them together and show you how you as a leader set the stage. You can create an environment that's really unique, and it transverses both vertically and horizontally in the organization, so that everybody in the company, everybody in your organization is constantly thinking about how do we make things better? How do we continue to align our role, our department, our part of this industry in such a way that it becomes a platform for what we will refer to as sustained superior performance. Some of that's financial, some of that is influence in the healthcare industry. And for the pharma companies, it's a way of translating their research in new drugs and how they apply to attacking some of the disease issues that we're dealing with. And I will try to use some of my examples that I've gained from my own experiences of where I think we were creative and successful in developing those leadership roles. So I want you again, think about what I'm presenting. How do these concepts affect you and your role, and how can you make a difference? And for the vision, explore, expand, excel. And the question really isn't for the challenge. It is rather, are you prepared for that challenge? And so in this chapter 2 of the book is a further way of defining behaviors, skill sets, perspectives, and frameworks, if you will, that will help you translate the vision into reality. And one of the great books that I found and still around, Margaret Wheatley's book entitled Leadership and the New Science. And what she does, she sort of goes back and historically identifies what was the old model of leadership, what's the new model. And one of the key issues right up front is, what are our relationships in the organization? Because the new model of leadership is a relationship-driven model. And what she tries to do is to help you see some things, how that vision that you have can be real. It can translate what you're doing. I saw it in every organization that I had an opportunity to either speak or consult as an expert in organizational behavior and help them make a difference. Well, here's the key pieces of information that I think you'll enjoy, that Meg Wheatley identifies. It's a great book. It's out on Amazon. I highly recommend it. That in chaos, there is order. And the issue there is that leaders need to be able to step back, take a look at the chaos, look at the post-pandemic chaos in terms of the markets, in terms of financial services, in terms of some of the things the government's trying to get us to do, in terms of healthcare and the changes that we're seeing about how we approach both community health as well as individual differential diagnoses and treatments to fit your needs. So we need to do something that creates order so people can see a productive and predictable outcome. And then the second piece is that the information that you use should be sufficient and should be a primal source, as I say there, creative force, with a foundation in education that will drive your leaders, your management team, the people in your organizations to see what can we do this different? How can we make a difference? And I saw that virtually any organization I work with. And then last, she says that systems by design fall apart so they can renew themselves, and invisible forces structure space and complex things together. And if you think about those core principles, those values of the industry that you're in, the type of people you work with, those are the things that will knit a fabric together that makes sense, a clear picture of what you are going to do to make a difference. And I want to quote a good friend of mine and colleague, Charlotte Roberts. She was one of the co-authors of the Field Book of the Fifth Discipline with Peter Senge and others about the learning organization. And one of her favorite quotes was, "Create your own future. Don't take one from strangers." If you think about that, that's a big deal. Okay, where does it start? Visions. In my terms of how I think and how I work with organizations in the past was, you got to have learning, you got to have change, but it really, the key component is having that alignment. Just like at the Methodist Hospital of Houston, when I was sitting there talking to these people and saying, okay, what's the vision? Okay, what's your role? I mean, they knew. And so as a consequence, what you're doing as a leader is you're helping the organization redesign our structure to deliver on that vision, and that's critical. And then that's going to change how we think and interact. And those two items, thinking and interacting, need to be fairly highly correlated in order to produce the desirable results you're looking for. And as I say in the box on the right, the visions are a future desired state. They're not rules, policies, or regulations. That's irrelevant. Visions are from the heart and the mind, and they create a picture of what we want to be and how we can be. And that alignment and organizational structure will definitely change the way we think and interact together. And I have begun seeing that in some of the organizations I had worked with in the old Eastern European countries about how they're changing, how they're looking at things. So, okay, here's a tool. Aligning your vision statement with your reality, again, a leader opportunity. And there's a series of questions that I put out here that I think you and your management team in particular. So when you have a weekly, bi-weekly meeting with your management team, have a productive dialogue. Think about this. Think about, how do we know that our vision statement's clear and understood? What are some opportunities? You might be out in town. It used to happen to me when I was mayor of the town of Bermuda Run. People would come up to me and say, "Hey, Ken, I know you're the mayor. Tell me again, what's that vision for a Bermuda Run?" Well, I had to have it right here. Had to have it in such a way I could translate it, speak to it, so that that person I'm talking to understands it, sees what I can see, believes in what we believe, and achieves what we can achieve. And the other piece is, how does our vision, and this is really critical, differentiate us from the rest of the industry? That's your competitive positioning. And if people see that, then they're going to be looking to you for more and more answers every day. And the way you do that is continuing to reinforce how we have translated that vision statement into a marketable, deliverable product or service that will clearly differentiate us. And that's really important. Again, turbulence in the post-pandemic environment, we're seeing company closures, realignments, all different kinds of changes are happening as a result of that. And a good leader knows what's going on, sees it, and knows how to translate that into something that people can identify and, pardon the expression, technical term, glom onto. If you glom onto it, we're ready to go. And then that key piece there is the vision statement needs to sound like us. You don't want to sound like a consultant. Okay? You want to talk about, I'm a member of this community. I'm part of what you are. And I can see our organization doing a lot of good things in the future that are going to help you. In today's world, I know in the healthcare industry, combining the outcomes and the adverse consequences of the pandemic is a great way to create a new vision. Great way, because people are going to pay attention, especially if you link things back to the pandemic and how they've changed you and your organization. And I think one of the other things, when you're out doing your walk around, as Disney put it, when you're on stage and you're not making a decision, but you're just talking to your staff, ask them, what do you think of that vision? What is your role? Not as a test per se, but how are they thinking about what they do to contribute? And then the last point there is very important, and that is that the vision statement can become a great benchmark that we can then use to test the decision-making that we're doing in terms of services we provide, products that are produced, the interactions with stakeholders, because in most cases, in most industries, you're not operating by yourself. In some respects, yes. The accounting documents may say yes. But organizationally, you're going to be dependent on others. I remember going down to the oil refinery that was being run in Aruba, and Valero Oil, and was the CEO of Starcon International, my first visit, and how important it was for that refinery to think about who are their stakeholders, how do they work, how do they influence what they do, and it works. So what I want you to do is spend some time with your staff, informally. Just ask them, what do you think? What happens? And another way for you as a leader to reinforce it, it's sort of similar to the vision statement, the elevator speech, that when you open meetings, maybe every other time, talk about how is the meeting content today going to apply to what we're trying to do with our vision, from our vision. That's a key piece. And the more you get that, what you're going to find is, as you're listening and sort of processing, if you will, what your staff and leaders are saying, you'll have a better feel for how that works. Town hall sessions. Anytime you have a larger group of people together, it's a great opportunity. And you might even actually do one of the tools, the best in class tool. What are the companies that pop into your mind immediately when I say best in class? And how relevant is it? Challenge those participants. Very important. And what is that doing? It's demonstrating clearly. I've said this before. You have to have that trust relationship. And when you do that, when you take some of their ideas and turn them into reality, guess what? You have just cemented in their minds, this guy or this gal, they believe in us. And I trust them. And I'm going to do whatever I can. So your elevator speech isn't just walking around. It's you. People look at you. You represent that vision. And the more you can do to reinforce it, the better off it is. I see that every month when I do veterans visits down at the Novant Medical Center, Novant Health Medical Center in Huntersville, North Carolina. I know what the vision is. I know Mike Riley, the president, has done a fabulous job fabulous job of getting his staff on board, if you will, with what he sees as a meaningful future and how they can participate. And those folks are doing a job, a great job. So it really is an opportunity for you as a leader to translate that vision into meaningful dialogue with the people you serve, because that's going to be very important. And I am often asked, I hear you. I know. But hey, Ken, I'm just one person. How can I make a difference? How can I really make a difference? I want you to watch the following, and I'll have another idea or question to ask you when it's done. About 1 minute and 43 seconds. Good video. I hope it gives you a lot to think about. And the question was, okay, I hear you, Ken. I see the vision. I see what we can do, but I'm just one person. How do I make a difference? How can I really have an impact? And here's the answer. The real question is not how. The real question is, why not? That's the real question for you. It's the real question for me. And every time, I can guarantee you, I have had a speaking engagement, a consulting arrangement, or what have you. Every time I went into an organization, my role was to think about, what am I hearing? How do I translate that into tangible and meaningful impact for them? And how are we going to come out at the other end? What's the difference going to be? I'll give you one good example, and I'm going to give credit to a guy named Chad Brown. He was the CEO of the Davie Medical Center in Bermuda Run, North Carolina, where I was mayor for 8 years. And that guy did one heck of a job of creating an environment, a culture where everybody on that small hospital staff knew exactly how they contributed. And he worked very hard to improve their contribution as they went along. Well, guess what? Davie Medical Center, small little hospital, Atrium, Wake Forest Baptist Health, ranked 7th in the nation for its ability and how it performs and the impact it was having. Think about it. Could they say that about your organization? If they can, that's great. If they can't, how do I, as a leader, make a difference? It's about inspired leadership. And again, as my kids used to say, disregardless of the industry you're in, you have an opportunity. So that ends this session. The next time we're going to talk about testing ourselves. How do you make a real difference? It's your challenge. And I look forward to seeing everybody at that time. And in the interim, there will be a handout of the PowerPoint posted. So download it, use it. And if you need my email address or want something, go out to the email address of the Podbean and leave me a message. That's the podcast that's going to produce this. And again, thank you. Can't thank you enough. For me, this is fun. I get energized. I'm an old guy, but I get energized because I hope that you see, you have a great opportunity. Now the question is, are you ready to take advantage of it and really push? And I mean push hard to see, believe, and achieve. Thank you.